We're
On
live,
Twitter.
Roger.
Hello.
Roger's new theme song for when we take
Hello.
we take the video live. All right, I gave you control, Roger. You have control to show the screens.
Amazing. It's fun. Just show everyone. Piece of junk. One of these days they might care about Hangouts again.
Hey, we get every penny we pay for it satisfaction. I'm not going to complain too much. All right, showbot.tv list has been cleared. If you're watching live, you can start suggesting headlines at showbot.tv. Actually, in the chat that will show up at showbot.tv. Don't suggest them yet because we haven't started the show. Unless you just want to guess. I mean, we are going to talk about esports. You know that. So I guess you could come up with a headline or a show title that would be like, esports is great.
Esports. And the
There's lots
Masters
of
of the
debate
Universe.
about like whether you capitalize the S or not.
Right. Yeah, there we go. Esports ball has been suggested. Excellent.
That took
See
2 seconds.
See if it works. All right, let's get going here. You ready, Jen Cutter?
I am ready, Tom Merritt.
Thank you. Let's do it. Here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by listeners like us. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/donate to learn how.
Donuts.
No, Homer, that's donate. But I'm sure Tom wouldn't mind donuts either.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Ayaz Akhtar was supposed to be on the show, but he's sick. But thankfully, that gave us the opportunity to get Jen Cutter back faster than we would have otherwise. Jen, of course, is an esports reporter, editor for Zam.com. You can find her on Twitter at Jen Cutter. And, of course, right here, right now. How's it going, Jen?
It's going very well. How about you, Tom?
I'm excited. I didn't realize until we were talking to you this morning that ELeague is launching its season. We've mentioned that they were going to be bringing this to TBS before, but it's underway as of now, which is what we're going to be talking about in our main discussion. Have you been watching much of it?
I've been watching it in the background. I'm also getting ready for Combo Breaker, a fighting game Street Fighter event coming up this weekend, so I've been trying to get my stuff together before I get on a plane to head out.
I'm sorry I took you away from your stick preparation.
This is pretty fun. I will mod my stick on the plane. It's fun.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Thank you. I appreciate you giving us your stick mod time. We very much appreciate it. Let's get started with the headlines. Twitter is giving developers the heads up in a few changes coming in the next few months. So instead of things, I mean, some of these were leaked, but not all of them, and we're getting them ahead of time so developers can prepare to work with them. Here are the changes. Attachments, things that you upload to Twitter, pictures, video, etc., will no longer count against your 140-character limit. Now, if you link to Instagram, that will still count. They're actually not taking away, as was rumored, the character count for links. Their links will still count 22 characters every time. The @names in a reply will no longer count against your character limit. So if you're replying to 15 people, you'll still have 140 characters to compose your reply. You won't have to sacrifice some of those people like you do sometimes. Non-reply tweets that begin with an @ symbol will now show to your whole audience. So you don't have to do the dot before the @ symbol anymore, and you'll be able to retweet and quote tweet your own posts. That's the only one that's got me worried there. Jen, what do you think of these?
Well, I'm hoping that they're going to announce more things to come, because while this sounds like a great idea in a perfect world, this also makes it a lot easier to harass people on Twitter, especially because you can tag up to 50 people, and there's no way presently to remove yourself from those kind of conversations, so it can really flood your feed.
Yeah, it doesn't solve that problem, which is an ongoing problem on Twitter, 100%, and it even makes it possibly a little easier. So hopefully Twitter will give us more ways of combating that sort of harassment. At the same time, I'm not sad to use the dot before the @ reply. I almost never used it anyway because I just found it so cumbersome and stupid looking. And I have not engaged in conversations when there's like 6 people in the replies, just because I'm like, well, I got 2 words to say here, and
Yeah,
now
you
I'll be
start
able to.
dropping vowels just to get in the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Or removing someone, which never feels right either. So I'm actually most worried about the retweeting and quote tweeting your own posts, because the ICYMI posts can get annoying if you're following someone closely already. That's in case you missed it, and I imagine that's probably what this will be used for most often.
hmm Like, it is nice that a conversation following your content tweet can stay under that instead of being split into an in case you missed it post.
Sure.
It's nice, but also because now at replies will be shown to everybody, I don't know how that's going to work when you're trying to go back and follow a conversation. It could be a little complicated.
Yeah, I do like the way they now will put at replies for people you follow in line, so you can follow the conversation a little easier rather than having to sort through. So maybe that will make it work fine.
Hopefully.
I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the rollout. I'm just hoping, because I find that sometimes if I block somebody, I still see them a lot in my feed, whether other people retweeted them or the block didn't take and I have to go back and do it again.
And sometimes if you're using TweetDeck, you might have blocked them in TweetDeck, but not in other places.
Not in Twitter, yeah.
9 to 5 Mac reports it has corroborated a research note from KGI securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo about new 13 and 15-inch MacBook Pros, but they're not coming till Q4. The rumor had been that they would announce them at WWDC and they'd be available in July. This rumor, by the way, still a rumor, well, or leak, depends on how much confidence you put in Ming-Chi Kuo. This one says not until Q4. Kuo says the new MacBook Pros will be thinner and lighter, that could have been guessed, but will include Touch ID, so you can have fingerprint access, and an OLED touch bar above the keyboard in place of the function keys. There will also be metal injection molded hinges, USB-C, Thunderbolt, and a 13-inch version of the new 12-inch MacBook is expected as well if you were holding out for a little bigger screen there. Jen, this one makes me very sad because I have a broken screen on my MacBook Pro, and I was hoping to be able to replace that within the next month. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just spend the $300 to fix the screen myself.
I always like Mac notebooks because they're very pretty. Not anywhere near my budget.
Yeah,
pretty.
they're real expensive.
And it doesn't touch
sound
bar.
Yeah.
That could be kind of cool.
That OLED, that is the kind of thing that in other manufacturers, not all other manufacturers, in other manufacturers' hand might not be pulled off so well, but in somebody who's really good with design, like an HP or back in the day Sony or Apple, that could work. I have a problem with the function keys not doing what they're supposed to sometimes, though, so I don't end up using them a lot on the OS X.
Yes, well, my regular keyboard, it's a Logitech, so it has all the G keys on it. I have the one with 18 of them because I use a lot of shortcuts when I'm working with Adobe. So yeah, I understand that you want those function keys to do what they do.
Yeah. Pebble announced the Pebble 2 and the Pebble Time 2 watches, both with built-in heart rate monitors, will be coming soon. And the Pebble Core, a clip-on for runners. That Pebble Core is $99. Will come with a 3G connection, although you'll have to get a SIM card for it, and it will have a headphone jack. So a lot of people are comparing it to an iPod Nano. The Pebble, or an iPod Shuffle, really. The Pebble 2 is $129. That will have a silicone band, a 1.26-inch e-paper display, so black and white, and 7-day battery life. The Time 2 is $199. It's a stainless steel watch. Comes with a silicone band, but you can buy a leather one if you want. 1.5-inch, 200 by 228 pixel screen. A software update for both of them will include an actions list for faster access to certain app features, and that'll work for older ones too, I think. All the devices are available for a discount right now on Kickstarter. So that's the interesting thing, Pebble doing this Kickstarter thing again, not because they need to raise money, but because they started on Kickstarter and they have a great community there, so they've already hit their goal of $2 million easily. Watches will ship in September, and that clip-on core thing won't ship until January. And frankly, that was the one that I was more interested in, but I don't really want to wait that long for it.
Yeah, Pebble makes me nervous. Well, Kickstarter in general makes me nervous about, hey, we're going to ship it this time. It's like, oh, no, you won't. But I think this time they're probably actually ready.
Yeah, I agree with you on Kickstarter shipping dates. Not, they're not set in stone. People generally miss them. Pebble is enough of a solid manufacturer at this point that I feel like these are probably pretty solid dates. But
And
I
they're
know what
pretty
you
well
mean.
priced too. Like when wearables first came out, one of the ones I got on early was Body Media because I wanted something to track how I burn calories in hockey because I was curious. And that was way more than this cost. So it's kind of nice to see that price coming down, and hopefully the manufacturing quality will be solid.
And even if these heart rate monitors aren't terribly accurate, a lot of people just like to have a little bit of slush data, and that's what Pebble's saying is,
Just an idea.
yeah, next to communication, fitness features are the most requested thing. So that they're just going with what the user base wants. Google announced changes to AdWords Tuesday. Local search is coming to Google.com and Google Maps, so you'll be able to buy just for particular regions. Promoted pins can add a logo to your Google Map location. AdWords headlines are expanding now, so you're going to see bigger ads in your search results. AdWords headlines go from 25 to 30 characters, and descriptions are beefing up from 35 characters to 80. Advertisers will also be able to adjust bids by device, so they can bid a little more for mobile if they think more of their audience is there, or vice versa. You'll have a different price for mobile versus desktop.
I'm surprised they didn't do some of that stuff already.
Yeah,
I just assumed.
I know. It's funny sometimes when a company like Google you just assume does everything. I would assume localization was available on Google.com already. I feel like I've seen that, but I think it wasn't as targeted necessarily, because I know it knows that I'm in Southern California. When I first moved here, well, that could just be search, though. When I first moved here, I searched for Pepperdine University because a friend of mine worked there, but it was going on the search, not on my actual location, I suppose. Anyway, I saw Pepperdine University ads everywhere. Not too excited about seeing more characters in Google AdSense ads, but they say it's more effective. They get more click-through that way.
I'm sure the third-party plugins to hide those will be immediate.
Yeah, absolutely. Platform as a service company Twilio has launched a couple of new products. An add-ons marketplace is one. Add-ons are pre-integrated modules from technology partners that users can access through the Twilio API. Twilio also announced Programmable Wireless, a SIM-based service in partnership with T-Mobile. It's meant to allow developers to build in cell service into any device, like an Internet of Things device or even a new mobile phone service. A lot of the talk I saw was about enterprises using this to give a work SIM to people so that they can lock down the features that are used when that SIM is in there, or they could make phones with very limited feature sets programmed on them. Programmable Wireless is coming in Q4 with volume pricing starting at $2 per SIM per month and 10 cents per megabyte, but they get cheaper the more you use. And this isn't meant for you and I to go buy the SIM. It's meant for somebody who wants to start a business and maybe include some data with a product.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that because I'd heard about the company, but I had no idea what they did.
Well, what Twilio does that's genius is they make it so that you can add telecommunications features like text messaging, let's say, into your product without, first of all, having to be a telecommunications engineer, and second of all, having to pay the outrageous price that the telcos would charge you as an individual customer. So Twilio goes and they buy all this capacity, kind of as an MVNO in a way, and then they sell it to devs so they can add it cheaply and easily into their products. What this is doing is saying, let's do it for hardware. Let's do it for devices and say you can put a connection in your device. It will cost you a lot less than if you had to strike a contract with a carrier, and we are good at this kind of integration, so it'll be easier to integrate into the software that runs your device.
Do they have any competitors at this point?
I don't want to say they don't, but because I haven't researched it closely, but Twilio is definitely the name in this sort of situation. They're very unique.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's basically turning AT&T, in this case T-Mobile, and T-Mobile doesn't mind, into a wholesaler that's like, yeah, we'll handle the network side of this. And of course T-Mobile touting that this is them being the uncarrier, and they're gonna make Internet of Things be able to connect everywhere. So it's certainly interesting to see if this will catch on. Facebook General Counsel Colin Stretch sent an open letter to U.S. Senator and Commerce Committee Chairman John Thune with the results of Facebook's investigation into bias in Facebook trends. Stretch claims conservative and liberal topics are approved with identical rates. However, Facebook still feels like there could be room for abuse or the appearance of abuse, so they're going to update their policies, update their training, no longer rely on an RSS feed of external websites to validate whether a story is big enough to go into trends, and no longer look at the top 10 websites as an indication of the importance of a topic. Senator Thune issued a statement saying that they found the report acceptable and what they were after was transparency, and they feel like Facebook is being cooperative.
Well, you can't fault Facebook here for their transparency in this particular thing. They got together an interesting group of people all in the same room and had a big open conference, which I feel was unusual for them. I hadn't seen too many examples of that. But it's the same dangers of a walled garden. If Facebook is your source for news, that is not the internet. That is not the world. It's just Facebook.
I wonder, I hadn't thought about this till just now. I wonder if this is all of those fights that Facebook went through in like 2008 through 2012, where they'd try to change something and people would become outraged and Facebook would back off. If the fact that they went through so many of those and learned how to communicate allowed them to handle what could have been a very sticky situation. This was not only political, but it was about the validity of Facebook's algorithms, which already are controversial in the newsfeed. And I have to hand it to Mark Zuckerberg. He seems to have been able to bring people together who are stakeholders in this and say, let's figure this out in a way that has Senator Thune, folks like Glenn Beck saying, yeah, I like what they were saying, and I feel satisfied that they're listening to us and taking appropriate action.
It was very well handled. Full marks for that.
Yeah. The Windows 10 upgrade that troubled Justin Robert Young, we mentioned it briefly on Thursday's show, is causing frustration for loads of other people as well. The new Windows 10 upgrade notification is now labeled recommended, meaning it stays scheduled even if you click the red X when the notification window shows up. Now, granted, this is definitely an exercise in you should read every dialog box before you do something, but you have to read it carefully, and it's not exactly obvious that clicking the red X is not dismissing the scheduled update. What the dialog box is saying is, we have scheduled an update. Is that cool? If you press OK, then yes, it stays cool. If you press X, you're obviously leaving it as, okay, I guess it's going to stay scheduled. You have to click on the word here, where it says if you would like to cancel or reschedule this upgrade, click here to cancel or schedule the upgrade. It's not very big. It's kind of towards the top of the dialog box, and this is all part of Microsoft trying to get Windows 10 upgrades done before they start charging for them after July 29th. Have you run into this at all?
I just did a quick stint as a product photographer for a company, and the screaming I could hear from upstairs when somebody's computer would randomly update Windows 10. And for people who work with finance software, you need to stay on older versions of Windows. And like when they snuck in another Windows 10 update in the IE security patch, that got a lot of people who had previously disabled it. I ran the registry hack to stop it on my machine with all my Adobe stuff on it, because that takes a while to fix.
Yeah, and you can roll it back if you
sometimes
it's not easy, and you have to do some searching around to find the right way to do it.
And if you lose a whole business day, that's very costly for small companies.
And I get the people who defending Microsoft aren't wrong that, you know what, then the enterprise should have had a policy that said recommended updates don't get automatically added, because that is what is happening here. Is if you say, I always want patches to just install, Microsoft is treating this as a patch, but I don't know that an upgrade to a new operating system should be treated the same as a patch. That doesn't seem right to me.
It feels like a much bigger step than, hey, we're going to fix this hole.
Yeah, so scheduling something without someone specifically scheduling it themselves and knowing, okay, I have scheduled this to happen, is what's causing the frustration, and I think people are right to get upset. Mm-hmm. Fast Company says Samsung executives tell it that no more Samsung Android Wear devices are in development or being planned. They are not going to make any more Android watches or anything else. The executives say the Tizen OS is more battery efficient. That's an OS that Samsung acquired and has developed. They use it in a lot of their embedded systems, like in smart fridges and televisions. So everyone who mocked Samsung for acquiring Tizen back in the day, apparently you can still mock them if you want, but Samsung's serious about it. They're not even going to make Android Wear watches anymore.
Yes, they like making money and not on their own stuff because they get to create their own walled garden. It's all theirs.
And I wonder if there's a truth about wearables that maybe Google and Apple would not like you to think about, where it shouldn't really matter what operating system is on your watch. It should just work with any phone. Look at the success of Pebble as an example of that. Like, I would like the world to work that way, actually.
It could be. I'm curious to see what they do. Samsung has had some neat ideas and some bad execution, but maybe this time they'll pull through. Internet of Things is a scary thing because once you have everything talking to everything, like just about the fitness wearables, there's no security on those things. People can track all sorts of things, which thankfully isn't hugely useful, but could be in the future
Yet.
if that ties into your car, if that ties into exactly where you are at any moment of the day.
Your heating, your air conditioning, your door locks. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Uber told TechCrunch that Toyota is partnering with them to expand their vehicle financing program, and The Verge reports they're investing money. The Toyota is going to drop some money. We don't know how much into Uber. The Verge reports Uber drivers can lease their vehicles from Toyota and cover their payments through earnings generated as Uber drivers. So kind of a free car, although you are paying for it out of your own earnings. The two companies will also conduct ride-sharing trials in countries that have yet to establish the practice. This comes at the same day that Volkswagen announced it's investing $300 million in black car hailing service Get. Of course, GM previously invested money in Lyft. So it looks like the car companies are all figuring out their next transition by investing in ride-sharing companies, and it's certainly in Uber's case there will be the pursuit of self-driving cars as part of that.
It's really weird to try to imagine right now the future on the roads in 10, 15, 20 years. There's so much chaos in the market right now.
Yeah, and if you're a driver, this is going to be great because it makes it easier to acquire a better car, and you'll have a choice. I think Lexus will be part of this, as Toyota is and Lexus are part of the same company. Toyota gets a stake in Uber, which Uber's been kind of flying solo. Even Didi, and they're not Didi Kuati anymore, but the ride-sharing service in China, Didi, and Apple are tying up. So everybody's partnering up. It's the end of the night for ride-sharing apps, and they're all figuring out who they're gonna go home with. And Uber and Toyota are together. So there you go. Thanks to everybody who submits stories at our subreddit. We can't thank you enough. Subreddit helps us make a better show every single day. And I always like to recognize a few of the people in there: Loki Robert, Mr. Anthropology, JMZ668, Philip Shane, and more submitted stories. You can be one of those people too. Go to dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and if you're like, I didn't get time to submit things, just do some voting. Look for some interesting stories. Vote them up, vote them down, whatever you want to do. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and that is a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about ELeague. Just to refresh people's memory, this is a partnership with Turner Sports and WME IMG, launching on Twitch today. It will also air Fridays with a weekly showcase on TBS at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And you were telling me, Jen, that it will be airing on Brazil a couple of times a week on regular TV. Mm-hmm. Full replays, VOD, twitch.tv/eLeague TV, and of course live streaming matches Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and even an alternative viewing when it's on TBS on Fridays. So what can folks expect if they go here? I mean, I know it's casters and it's esports and games happening, but this is a lot of coverage going on.
This is a lot of coverage and some serious invested money. Like, not only is the prize pool $1.4 million to be split amongst the teams, they've already committed to more than one season of this. This is not a fly-by-night. This is not just a trial. They are committing to this being a thing. Now, it's not going to look very different for people who are already into Counter-Strike and are already watching regularly. It's just bigger budget, bigger stages, same personalities you know, same teams that you know. But now it's on television, which gives it that legitimacy. It's not just Blizzard with Heroes of the Storm on TV. Now Counter-Strike, one of the earliest of esports, on TV in the United States.
And you were pointing out the stage looks like it. Even when you're watching on Twitch, this looks like a big production. I mean, they're getting millions of dollars from sponsors to pour into these sets and into this coverage, and a lot of sponsors that you would not normally associate with esports.
Yeah, Arby's, Credit Karma, and Buffalo Wild Wings are not companies even a year ago you would have guessed sponsoring a game about planting bombs and blowing up terrorists. It's quite an interesting turn of events to get these companies that aren't necessarily involved in gaming sponsoring this kind of broadcast initiative.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo Wild Wings, big name if you're not familiar, big name in the United States. Arby's has been around forever. They've been selling those roast beef sandwiches for decades. So those are big names to get involved. Credit Karma is an interesting one. Like, that's a financial service thing, and so they're taking a big bet. And I guess they get exclusivity in their category. Is that it?
If you watch ELeague on Twitch right now, in the Twitch sidebar, you'll see, there it is, the Arby's ad. Oh, wow, Cloud9 did really well in that round. But that side ad is not a general thing on Twitch. This seems to be kind of new for this ELeague broadcast.
And I know that TBS has said that they will give uninterrupted game coverage, limited commercial time, so they're going to have to get creative like that with these sponsorships. Are we gonna see uniforms with the soccer type patches and logos?
That kind of already happens.
Yeah.
CS jersey is pretty loaded.
So we're gonna see more of that sort of thing. And
Halftime reports brought to you by.
Yeah, this is so and anybody who's followed esports knows that esports has been taking off, and it has hit the big time. But I think a lot of people who may be into technology, maybe play video games, but aren't following esports, don't quite understand what this is. Like, you're just sitting and watching someone else play a video game to them, is one of the criticisms I've heard of. What do you get out of this that is that similar rush of watching any sport, do you think?
At this point, CSGO is pretty established. People know the teams, people follow the teams, you buy the jerseys, you wear them of your favorite players, just like any sport. And also the broadcast level has really come up huge in the last few years. I'd say even 10 years. And Twitch has made that easier. Now people know the broadcasters. They follow their favorite casters. And then the casters and the analysts get together and they break down the game exactly the same way that they do in hockey, football, basketball. It's kind of the same experience for video games.
I know from just watching Hearthstone casts and tournaments that I will pick up things that help me play the game better. And I think that happens some, but it's also not like, oh, well, I could do that too, right? Like, these are people playing at a really high level.
Oh, I got to play Street Fighter against some pros and Counter-Strike against some pros, and I got destroyed. And it's not that I'm new at the game. I'm actually pretty decent, but it's a different level. This is their life. This is their job. This is what they do. They are pro gaming athletes.
So check it out, folks. Give it a little look. If you ever, I think if you're into video games and if you have a casual or more interest in generally watching sports, you're going to find a cool cross-section here, twitch.tv/ELeagueTV. So how long does this go on? Do you know, like, how long the season is?
The first season is a couple of weeks, and there's a lot of games going on here. Teams have to come to the U.S. for an extended period to make this happen. And then I'm looking forward already to Season 2, because I do not get TBS in Canada, so I will be watching exclusively on Twitch.
Yeah, and I know Twitch has, you can follow the best of threes on Twitch on Friday when it's on TBS, but you're going to get alternative viewing. You're not going to get the straight feed that you would get on Tuesdays through Thursdays, right?
I'm not sure how they're going to handle it at this point, so I will be talking to my friends in the States on Friday when I land in in Chicago, and see how that's going, because I really can't wait to watch more of this.
Hopefully you get TBS in your hotel room.
Exactly, that's how I'll be able to see it.
Let me sample it that way. Twitch.tv/ELeagueTV, again, if you want to sample it out. Also, and my wife works for this one, YouTube, is launching an event hub for E3. Now, Twitch is the official coverage partner for E3, but if you remember, Jeff Keighley hosted coverage for YouTube last year. YouTube's coverage will begin with EA and Bethesda's keynotes on June 12th, followed by a 12-hour stream on June 13th. So shorter coverage than what you'll get on Twitch. And it brought up an email that I got from Derek Chen, Derek, longtime friend and friend of the show, who works in advertising and generally has to go to E3 for business reasons. We were talking yesterday about this new fan version of E3 that will be held separately from the main convention. And Derek says, look, I think the general public underestimates the amount of industry business that occurs during the show behind the scenes. It's easy to get caught up in the press announcements and the flashy booths and all the news stories around the games at E3, but that's only part of what goes on there. Just because Activision and EA don't have booths doesn't mean they're doing just as much. They're not doing just as much business. They're still there, technically not on the show floor, but they have events and pressers in the area that week. And to be honest, EA and Activision's booths weren't very accessible anyway, with most of the main games behind closed doors. I'm more than sure, however, their teams will still be out in full force, though. E3 is just about as much about marketers, executives, retailers, and other third parties getting together to meet and do business and hold meetings. If you walk around anywhere in downtown LA, especially the steakhouses and Katsuya in the area, it's all full of people in suits talking shop. That's not to say E3 won't continue to change. I mean, the show in itself has seen some pretty large ebbs and flows over the years, changing in attendance and purpose. With the growth of the fan conventions such as PAX, part of the direct and public fan engagement will shift out of E3. But as far as I can tell, the purpose of an industry event, E3 will still be needed. So, we've been speculating what this might mean for E3. Jen, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Derek, I love your letter. You pretty much nailed a lot of the things I would have said about it. For E3 on the floor, as a journalist, I'd have appointments. So yes, the EA games would be behind closed doors. I show up, I say who I am, I go behind those doors and play the game. It's not accessible to the general fan or people who manage to get into E3. The E3 floor is where companies spend the money. The E3 surroundings is where companies make the money. That's when all the deals are happening. So he pretty much nailed it on that front.
And I remember several years back when E3 decided to just go into low power mode, essentially, and it was only happening in hotel corridors. They still held it because of that. They just wanted the business to happen. I wonder if this fan version of the convention is them trying to approach that idea again, but smarter, saying, maybe having this big show floor isn't the best for getting business done, and we could get back to that idea we tried a few years ago, but not lose the press attention and even maybe gain some fan outreach.
For every single PAX, the passes sell out in hours. So if E3 wants to be able to take those pictures of the show floor, packed wall to wall, bringing the fans back will make that instantly happen, and the journalists are still going to have to show up and cover it.
Yeah. Well,
the business people will still do their work.
And maybe it'll be easier for the business people to do their work if they don't have to wade through a show floor. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see. Thank you, Derek, for sending that email, as always. Our pick of the day comes from Andrew in Minnesota, who said in episode 2764, Justin had Windows 10 seemingly forced upon him, and my pick of the day is Steve Gibson's Never 10. Steve wrote an extremely small executable that does not need to be installed, will block Windows 10 from being downloaded and installed, will even clean up Windows 10 files if it has already been downloaded in the background and you have no desire to install it. So before Windows 10 happens to you, if you don't want it to happen, you might want to check out grc.com/never10. That's NEVER10. Andrew says for techs in a small business, this can run with the command line switch, aka startup script. So you can make sure that it's on the computers of the people you want to make sure stay on Windows 7.
I love Steve Gibson.
I know, it's genius, right?
Well, we used to share episodes and call for help in Canada, so I would always hear about the cool things he was working on, and just an absolute stand-up, classy guy, big fan.
Yeah. And good stuff, too. grc.com/never10, NEVER10. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. And you can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. A few emails before we're out of here today. Victor wrote in and said he was listening to Peter on the Sunday show talk about the Motorola Razr reboot, and it occurred to him that it might be useful in more than just, in fact, more useful than watches with 4G. Victor says, when I had my old Palm 3, I wished that I could purchase an inexpensive flip phone that I could tether my Palm to. With Bluetooth headphones, a tethered watch, tablet, or PDA, etc., and the inexpensive flip phone as the hub. Add e-paper displays, water or dust proofing, and a battery life of several days, maybe a decent camera. I could take the phone everywhere and the other peripherals only when I needed them. Now that tethering is free on most plans, Motorola might just make my dreams of 2010 come true. So I don't know if you saw the Razr tease from Motorola, Jen, but they seem to be indicating they're bringing back the Razr.
I had a Razr, I'm not gonna lie.
I
Me
still
and
have
everyone
one
else.
in the closet, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it.
No, it's not in the closet. It's right
Oh,
here.
there it is.
Hold on.
Mine was blue. That was
What do
the
you think of that idea of this just being a minimal hub with the connectivity, and that you could then use it with other devices like tablets, etc.?
When Sony announced for PlayStation that you could kind of like take just your Apple's phone or anything and connect it to watch YouTube through there, I thought, oh, that's silly, and then I started using it immediately and all of the time since. So I can't write anything off this early.
Yeah. I kind of just, I think that the larger phones like the Galaxy S7 and the iPhone 6 have showed that if we want something convenient, we actually just want a bigger screen so we don't have to carry a tablet. But maybe there's another section of the market that would want this as well. It's an interesting idea. We got loads of emails from folks about self-driving cars with our conversation from yesterday. Thank you all for writing in. I've written back to some of you on some points, and I picked some representative samples of others here. First of all, this email says, would we even have cars now if we'd known that there would be 30,000 deaths a year and we'd spend trillions and trillions over time on paving and other expenses? And the Edsel? I am the Stig, Akron, Ohio.
Well, it's nice to have a Top Gear shout out.
Yeah, thank you, Stig, for writing in, and you're absolutely right. I'd probably still be riding a horse. Rich from lovely Cleveland said he had plenty of time to be fully engrossed with our discussion on self-driving cars as I was parked on I-90 trying to get to work. I could see in real time how amazing human drivers are as they tried to merge at the last minute into my lane, drove onto the shoulder to get to their exit, cut off semis, and in general do their best to make me late for work. As much as safety would be a potential benefit for self-driving cars, I have to think general efficiency would be just as much of a gain, as seemingly humans lack the ability to plan ahead where they are driving. Rip out my steering wheel. I am ready and waiting for our self-driving future. And then Theophraxis said, I'm definitely one of the 15% who can't wait to take my eyes off the road, but there's one thing I don't understand. If I want to rejigger the car in my driveway, will my car understand? A lot of people wrote up with a similar point here. Will the car understand park next to the Edsel? A lot of Edsel references in your emails as well. He says, or if I'm attending a rural county fair and I need to park in a big grassy unmarked field, how do I issue the command park over there? Or must I say move forward 17 feet and then turn left 49 degrees? I agree that a big steering wheel is a waste of space if I'm zooming down the highway, but for those minute manipulations, what would replace it?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that because I never assumed these things were going to work in my lifetime.
I know. Well, they might, but yeah, probably not in the way that he's talking about. You're still going to have cars that you can drive for just exactly these situations, for rural areas. A lot of people were writing in saying they haven't solved for heavy rain, heavy snowfall yet. If the lanes get occluded, they can use mapping and geopositioning pretty well to follow those lanes because they can use other signals. But once the vision gets occluded, the sensors can't see through it, so that's difficult. And also off-roading. A couple of people pointed out, like, if I just want to go off-roading, I'm not going to get in a self-driving car, but do I have to own a separate car for off-roading then? I wouldn't be able to use it. Like, so.
Yeah, track days. And were you guys talking about Edsels? Because that's two Edsel references right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have been known to bring up the Edsel from time to time, so maybe I did. I don't remember. And finally, Tad Robbins pointed out that DTNS plays daily on the refrigerator in his showroom floor at CNC Home Appliance at Lake Charles, Louisiana. We'll have a link to that picture in our show notes as well. But yeah, thank you to all of you watching this on a refrigerator right now in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I've been through your lovely town, and I appreciate you paying attention. Please look around, enjoy yourself, buy a refrigerator perhaps. I love that he's doing that. That's fantastic. Thank you, Tad, for putting that up there. Anyway, that is a look at the messages. Thank you again, Jen Cutter, for joining us.
My pleasure. It was a nice surprise.
Oh, for us as well. And when I say come back soon, I always mean it. So I'm glad you came back even sooner than we expected. Where can folks find more of what you're doing online?
Twitter is definitely the best place because I'm moving all of my websites. So at Jen Cutter, Jenn Cutter, you'll see links to everything I'm doing right now. I just edited a review of Doom, the new Doom, which is actually surprisingly good, at zam.com, ZAM.com.
All right, check it out, ZAM.com, or for you Americans, ZAM.com. Thanks you to everybody who supports the show. We rely entirely on you. If you're willing to help out and you've got $1 a month that you can spare, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. There's lots of different ways. We have a YouTube backing, we have a store, we have PayPal, and of course we have patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website at dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. And Eck from Hockey Buzz has a HoloLens. We'll talk to him about it tomorrow. See you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was great.
That was fun.
Thanks, Jen.
I'm happy I was available.
Yeah, me too. So good to have you back.
How ironic that the next show we have is a hockey guy who
Yeah,
does.
I heard that. I was like, yes, there's a hockey thing. I'm so
Do you
excited.
know Eck by any chance?
No, I don't. But like hockey, we're okay with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he's in Philly. If I always get this wrong for some reason. But yeah, he's been doing Hockey Buzz for years. If you haven't checked it out, it's worth a look.
Let's see.
Hey, Roger, did that picture not come up for you of the fridge?
It did not. I just saw your face.
Oh, I just clicked on the link and it came up. Here, I'll show
It came up for you, but did it show to everyone? It might have shown up on your screen, but I don't think it showed up on.
There. How's that? Now you can see
now
it.
I see it.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. There's the fridge. Play it away in Lake Charles.
Who would have thought, Tom, 15 years ago, my face will be talking on a fridge.
That's
All
amazing.
right, titles.
All right. Yes, titles. What do we got?
We got eSports Ball. We got TL:DR. Got Windows 10.
Is eSports Ball winning because it was the first one suggested? That's hilarious.
Probably. Trending is not news. Toy Uberota, like Toyota.
Uberoyota?
Twitching over ELeague.
Mm-hmm.
Mom says stay inside and play sports. Brevity is no longer the soul of Twitter. Pebble, hero of the core. Kickstart the Pebble discounts. Let me see.
E are the champions.
Oh, there's also E will rock you.
Wow, we got a lot today.
Esports,
Daily
esports,
Canadian
esports.
I love TLDR got Windows 10.
It's kind of exactly what happens.
The perfect summary.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a few good ones in there. Do you guys have a favorite?
Let's see. Where's the other one? We are the champion. No.
E will rock
Uber,
you.
we're going to see a lot everywhere.
E are the champions. I'm not sure if that would come across like. I mean, I like it. I'm just wondering if people would get it.
E are the champions.
Yeah.
So props to Shane for the suggestion, at the very least.
Yeah, for sure.
Why are you twitchy? It's just ELeague. Oh, ESPN, but it says Electronic Sports Player Network.
Ah.
From Big Jim.
Well, they did broadcast, what was it, Heroes of the Dorm.
Heroes, right? Yeah.
I'll vote for that. Also, Big Jim, when I see your name, I think of a Slim Jim.
Makes him
Me
hungry.
too.
Do they sell those up your way? I always thought they
Yep.
were.
That was the one that Ultimate Warrior did the commercials for way back in the day, right? Happened to a Slim Jim?
Yeah. Wait, wasn't it Macho Man Randy Savage? Well, I remember Macho Man doing it here.
It might have been both. I don't. It could have been
Snap into
either.
a Slim Jim.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Fake beef jerky. It's the best.
There is even some beef in them, I hear.
You know, sometimes I have a fear that they'll mix in the dog chew toys with the Slim Jim, and you won't know what's what.
All right, Roger. Well, I don't know if you were using your powers wisely, but you have picked the title. It's Electronic Sports Player Network.
Yay! ESPN.
Do you have ESPN? No, I can't read minds. Don't encourage.
ESP. It's just like magic, except that it's sort of sciencey.
It's just like magic, except sciencey. Yeah, that's what makes Ghostbusters so amazing.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the big trope of science fiction is like, well, you can't have magic, so we'll give a fancy term for what essentially is magic.
Is it science fiction or fictional science?
They used to refer to it as science fantasy. Like
Right.
Star Wars was
Yeah.
Designated science fantasy, while 2001 by Isaac Asimov was considered science fiction.
Yeah, what we call hard sci-fi these days, a lot of people really tried to defend the word science fiction to just be about like actual fiction based on real science.
But then there's too many fantastical elements that get thrown in.
See, when I say I write sci-fi, I don't really write a lot of science. I try to base it on science, but I don't get hard sci-fi.
You write stories about the human condition, Tom.
Isn't
that like 90%? Like, isn't that like I really write stories about people? It's like, yeah, of course you do. No one's gonna read a book
My
about
stories are character-driven. Yeah.
I'm writing a story about a factory that builds cars by
They're
itself.
about relationships.
They're about drama and tension. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, if you don't have those, then
Conflict.
the worst shows, the worst books.
Shane says I like hard space opera.
Hard space opera.
That's what I
be?
want to write. I want to write hard space opera.
I'm trying to think of a space opera.
Well, okay, so space opera is sometimes what you call like a Star Wars, right? You say like, oh, well, it's not really hard sci-fi. It's space opera. It's just having a fun story, but it's in space. And that, I don't know if they would take offense to this, and I hope they wouldn't, but Leviathan Wakes and the Expanse series is hard space opera. Like, they get the science right, but they don't go deep into it. They don't go into long explanations of it.
And I think that's one of those things that I think trips up a lot of writers is that like, oh, it's science fiction. I really gotta explain out everything. It's like, no, you just gotta explain it enough that it makes sense.
You don't have to, like, hard sci-fi justifies everything. Like, the reason we're doing this is because this has turned out to be true. And sometimes it's speculation about what will be true. Like Kim Stanley Robinson, I think, does great hard sci-fi because he doesn't get too lost in the details, but he justifies all of the technology that exists. I learn a lot reading those books.
Who's the other? Do you think William Gibson considered, or do you see that kind of?
I always think of him as cyberpunk, but I guess in the computer world he's hard sci-fi because he is trying to get stuff right.
Yeah. Dune. Someone brought up Dune. I love Dune. Although I've only read the first book.
Hard space opera. Dune.
I've always been meaning to read all the other ones, but I kind of know how they end, so I'm not sure if I want to spend the time. I mean, conceptually it's a great book, and I really like all the analogies and metaphors that he makes without being so blatant about it in it.
Well, if your kid gets into it one day, you can read the series with her.
There you go.
Woo! I'll read it. It'll be the chapter before bedtime, or I guess the 3 pages of the next chapter. Suspensor light. What are those? If you imagine something that can float and also has light, that's basically a floating lamp. Nice. So why do they want to go to a desert planet? There's no water. Well, there's a big backstory behind it, but you'll have to read 2 more books. I can't fully appreciate it. And this whole thing about religion and kind of, I don't know if he's not really a demagogue. He's more of a what do you call it? Not a prophet. What do you call it? What do you call the guy that runs or person that runs like a cult?
Cult leader?
No, but I mean, isn't there like a little more grandiloquent term for them?
I don't think Frank. Are you saying Frank Herbert is a cult leader?
No, the character.
Yeah.
Later.
Paul Atreides.
Yes. Like, what do you call him? He's a Messiah character, but I don't.
Yeah,
but
he's messianic.
But there's a different term because it's not something.
No, I know what you mean now. Yeah, there is a term for that, and I'm blanking on it.
So when do you fly out? You fly out tomorrow?
No, I actually fly out Friday morning, but I have so much stuff to get done before I go because I won't be able to contribute or edit or do anything.
So you have to do it before.
Yeah, and Thursday night I have hockey too. So my time just keeps getting shorter.
Well, at least you're down to one league, right? Instead of playing
Down
the double.
well, technically this is for a second league, but I'm just filling in. I don't actually play in more than one league anymore.
Yeah, it's just
So much time on the ice, and most of my life on the ice.
It's like they should pay. It's so funny because it's all like you guys are all chipping in for the fees. It just seems like a job in many ways. I mean, it's fun, but.
Well, that's why I'm only paying for one. Now, as a ringer for other teams, they call me and they cover the fees.
Oh, this new girl. I don't know who she is. I don't know if she can play hockey very well.
Is that what you refer to yourself as, a ringer?
In this particular case, I used to play for this team before, but
Okay.
yeah, for tournament weekends, I get a lot of calls saying, "Hey, we're in this division. Come and beat up everybody for us." Which I
That's
don't do
amazing.
anymore because I started to feel way too bad about it because it just became a competition of who can call the best ringer. And
Oh yeah, no, it's
nobody
like
learns
straight out of
anything.
slapstick, right?
Yeah,
It's
so-
amazing.
So I don't do that anymore.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that was a real thing that happened.
All of the time. Like the one league that I am playing in, it's phenomenal. It's also really cheap, and it's where all of the CIS, NCAA, and other high-level people come to play in for the summer when they're home, and they don't want to get hurt because they've all got scholarships to protect. So it's just really good, clean, fast hockey.
Wow.
That's my favorite league all year. Is my summer
So
league.
no checking.
No, you will still hit each other, but it's not going to be a
Clean
cheap shot
checking.
from behind. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with checking.
Eh?
Hockey
I'm
is a
just
contact
wondering,
sport.
I know. I'm just when you say people want to protect themselves, I'm just thinking it's like, hey,
Well, if I had to guess, Jen, it would be they don't want to play with people who are either out of control or don't know what they're doing, right?
Yes.
Because that's where you are more likely to get injured.
Yeah, because somebody who doesn't have the experience will be very unpredictable, it can be unsafe depending on, because you don't know how they're going to attack you. You don't know if they know how to hit the boards properly. There's a lot of things you got to worry about.
Makes sense. All right. Well, we are good. The show is up. Everything is awesome. We'll let Jen get back to modding her stick and packing
Yes.
for Chicago.
I have to do that literally next.
And we'll see the rest of us, Roger and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.